All right, today we are diving deep into the latest quarterly results from the financial powerhouse ORIX. They just dropped a massive report, and trust me, there's a lot to talk about. So let's get right into the numbers that really matter.
Okay, let's just start with the headline number that's turning every head. 389.7 billion yen. Now, that's the net income ORIX managed to pull in for just the first 9 months of their fiscal year. It's an absolutely huge figure. And believe me, it really sets the stage for everything else we're going to cover.
So, what's the big story here? Well, to put it simply, ORIX absolutely crushed it, thanks to some massive wins on their investments, which led to a record-breaking quarter. But, and this is a big but, at the very same time, management is already flagging some pretty significant challenges just over the horizon. So, we're going to unpack the wins, the worries, and their big game plan for the future. Let's start with the big picture. That nearly 390 billion yen profit, it isn't just big, it's the highest third-quarter cumulative net profit ORIX has ever recorded. I mean, they are firing on all cylinders. And yet, they're keeping their full-year forecast exactly the same, which kind of signals they're being a little cautious about what's coming next.
And to really put that performance into perspective, get this. With 3 whole months still left to go in their fiscal year, ORIX has already hit 89% of its entire full-year profit target. That just shows you the sheer scale of the outperformance we're talking about in this period. It's pretty incredible.
So, the obvious question is, where did all this record-breaking profit come from? Was it just one lucky break, or is their whole business just on fire right now? Let's break it down and look at the key drivers that really fueled this amazing quarter.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting when you look at the breakdown. You can see there are 3 main business pillars, right? Finance, operation, and investments. And yeah, the finance and operation parts saw some really healthy growth, 8 and 17%, not bad at all. But just look at the investment segment. It absolutely exploded, literally doubling its profit year over year. That right there is the heart of this whole story.
And this slide shows you exactly how they pulled off that 100% jump. It was all driven by a series of super successful asset sales. The biggest kahuna of them all was the sale of shares in Greenko Energy Holdings. That brought in a massive gain. But on top of that, they also sold off a geothermal business, a hotel, and so really strong performance from their private equity investments in big names like Toshiba and DHC.
Now, ORIX has 10 different business segments, which can get complicated, but this table really boils it down to the major trends. On one side, you see that insane 828% profit jump in environment and energy. That's almost all thanks to that Greenko sale. You've got healthy 42% growth in PE and concessions, but then you see the major challenge, a 50% profit drop in ORIX USA, all because of credit losses. This really tells both sides of the story perfectly.
And that brings us right to the other side of the coin. Look, no earnings report is ever perfect, and ORIX management was actually very upfront about the challenges they're facing. This really explains why they're keeping a cautious outlook, even with these record profits in the bag.
Okay, so the first big headwind is all about inbound tourism. See, ORIX has a big stake in the Kansai Airport concession, which is a huge international hub in Japan. But as management pointed out, passenger numbers coming from China have dropped by around 40% recently. That's a big deal, and it's expected to put some real pressure on the money they make from the airport and everything related to it.
And the second major headwind is that one we just saw in the table, ORIX USA. The challenge is crystal clear. They've taken some hits from credit losses and write-downs, especially in their real estate lending business. The good news? Management is already on it. They're taking action, strengthening their lending standards, and actively reshaping their portfolio to get that risk under control. So, how does a company with record profits but some pretty clear challenges plan for future growth? Well, for ORIX, the answer lies in this core strategy they call capital recycling. So what on earth is capital recycling? It sounds a little complex, but the idea is actually super simple. Think of it like a pro sports team, right? You might treat a veteran star player who's at their peak in exchange for some really promising young talent and draft picks that can fuel the team's future. ORIX is doing the exact same thing. They sell their mature, stable assets to get a big pile of cash, and then they reinvest that cash into new areas that have much higher growth potential.
And they aren't just talking about this strategy. They are doing it on an incredible scale. In just the last 9 months, ORIX generated a massive 790 billion yen in cash from selling off assets, like that Greenko deal we talked about.
And they are not letting that cash just sit around.
Of the $790 billion they brought in, they've already put $700 billion of it right back to work in new investments. So you see, this isn't just some theoretical strategy on a whiteboard. It's happening right now in real time.
So, where is all that new money going? It's a really diverse mix, which I find fascinating. They've invested in everything from Hilco Global, which is an asset valuation firm, to iNet, a company focused on AI infrastructure. They're even getting into the capsule toy business with a company called Lulu Arc, all while making more traditional plays in renewable energy and aircraft leasing.
Okay, so after digging through the record profits, the headwinds, and that core strategy, what's the big takeaway from all this? What does it all mean for ORIX?
So let's just boil it all down. First, ORIX delivered a record-breaking quarter, almost entirely powered by cashing in on some really smart investments, but they're also being honest about facing real challenges, especially with tourism and in their U.S. portfolio. Their answer to this is a clear and aggressive capital recycling strategy, pivoting from those older, mature assets into new areas to grow the future. And on top of it all, they're rewarding shareholders by expanding their stock buyback program to 150 billion yen.
And that leaves us with the big question going forward, doesn't it? The capital recycling machine is clearly working wonders on the selling side. I mean, they're great at it. But the ultimate test, the real story to watch, is whether all these new diverse investments can actually become the next generation of profit engines for ORIX.